How you doing, everyone? My name's Dana, and I'm a YouTube Silver shareholder. And I wanted to make a video to talk to everyone about why I've decided to be a shareholder of Silver. And I wanted to start out just by discussing money and, what is money. So here's just a few bills that I've pulled out. You got here is going to be some money from Iraq. Thought some people might find that interesting, some Iraqi money. And you might recognize this guy. He's not around anymore, but there's some more money from Iraq with Saddam on it. And here you've got some money from Yugoslavia. That's a country that's not around anymore. So there's some Yugoslavian money. And I have the money, but I don't know what to do with it. Like I said, Yugoslavia no longer exists. But there's some more money from Yugoslavia. And here's going to be some money from Iran. And the way our relations are with Iran, who knows what the future for that country and what the future for its money is going to be. But there's some money from Iran. Thought you guys might find that interesting. Some money from Syria. There's another country, and who knows what's in store for the future there. Pretty unstable right now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Syria go the way of Yugoslavia. Whether or not the country will just completely collapse or change leadership or what, but things aren't looking good for Syria. But there's some of their money that I'm holding. And here's some money from Zimbabwe. Interesting thing about Zimbabwe is not long before these bills were printed, the Zimbabwe dollar was actually stronger than the US dollar. I believe it traded at $1.04 per dollar. So it was like 4%, I guess, stronger than our currency. So there's a $100 bill from Zimbabwe. And then here's a $50 trillion bill. And once they got the printing presses rolling, they started cranking out $100 trillion bills. And, they're pretty much worthless. I got a whole pile of them here. I'm not going to take them all out, but there's a whole packet of $100 trillion bills, whatever, that's whatever good that's doing me to have. And then thought some of you might find these interesting. So this is going to be a United States note. That was a competing currency printed by the U.S., I believe printed by the Treasury. But that's a U.S. bill. It's a United States note, $2 note. This was redeemable in silver. So you could go and bring this, I believe, to a bank, maybe the Treasury, but I think it was banks would redeem this for $2 worth of silver. And again, that was a competing currency to the Federal Reserve notes that were in existence concurrently with this. They ran at the same time. This was an alternative. Same valuation, you could use it at stores and everything, but just thought you guys might find that interesting. United States note there. And then here we've got a silver certificate. So that is a Federal Reserve note, I believe, but it's a silver certificate. And this was redeemable in silver. And again, I think you could just go to a bank and exchange that for $1 worth of silver. I've actually seen some of the silver, like redemption or whatever they are, little, it's like silver shot that they would exchange for these. I've seen some, I don't have any. But pretty interesting there, United States silver certificate. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And just holding the money is basically holding stock. It's an act of faith that is something of value. And I got some current money here. Here's some euros. And who knows what's going to happen with the euro, but there it is. And that's a euro. Is another another euro there. Here's a dollar, current, just regular dollar. And after holding these and holding the $100 trillion Zimbabwe notes, it kind of makes me wonder, what's the difference between that $100 Zimbabwe note and the $100 trillion Zimbabwe note? That's what really brings me to silver. And it's nice because just with silver, you can put that on a scale and you can tell that is worth more than that. And the purity, it's 90% pure. And it's something of value, and it's a measurable value, and it's not it's really not up for debate. It's not a measure of confidence. All these notes that I've showed you, all that money, any of their silver coinage is still valuable. The silver, they can't print it, and all those countries and all those currencies that have collapsed, their silver is still a value, and it's a hard asset. It's a hard commodity, and I just find that really interesting. And here's some U.S. silver junk coins, and that kind of brings me to my second reason for being a silver shareholder. I mean, first off, I just feel that holding my share of silver as opposed to paper, or now with the credit cards and things like that, digital numbers, electrons in a computer somewhere, I feel like the value is much more solid and non-negotiable when it's held in a hard asset like silver, as opposed to faith in the computer system, or faith in the ability to maintain the value of paper notes. Where that $100 Zimbabwe note and that $100 trillion Zimbabwe note, the only difference I see is the numbers printed on the paper. And with this silver, I can just put it on a scale. You could send it to an assay office and verify what's worth more and what's worth less. I mean, it's a simple measurement and an honest measurement. So when I see these numbers on the credit card statements, or bank balances, and even the difference between my $1 bill and a $100 bill, it's pretty much only worth what somebody's going to exchange for it. And I keep seeing the exchange rates change, in that just in my lifetime, the same gallon of gas that hasn't really changed. There's been no drastic change in the quality, or what you can do with a gallon of gas. I mean, I guess they can get better gas mileage now or whatever, but the gas is the same, but it's gone up 400% or so in price. So that leads me to believe that the unit of measure when we're talking about price is the dollar's the variable there. So I choose to hold silver as opposed to dollars. I also see it as being similar to holding stock in a company, except for with this company, it's not going to go broke. Some of these countries I showed you, Yugoslavia, and some of these other ones, the country is gone. Remember the Soviet Union? Now it's Russia, and the other portions have broken up into smaller countries. But those things come and go, just like companies come and go. And I'd rather hold stock of silver and stockpile silver. It's never going to go to zero. It's going to maintain value to some degree. It might increase in value, but I don't ever see it being worthless. And that's a big part of the reason that I'm a silver shareholder. And then I want to talk to you about supply and demand. Now, every year, the supply, or the demand, I should say, is met. So every year, whatever supply there is, there's demand for that supply. But the mining output does not keep up with the silver demand. So every year, some of that demand has to be met by reclaimed silver. The more of us that are holding our share of silver and increasing our share of silver, the harder it is for that demand to be met. So whether you're buying bullion coins or silverware or jewelry or whatever it is, you're adding to that demand. And if you don't sell, they have a harder time meeting that demand, which means the price is going to go up. They can mine silver, but right now the demand is higher than what they can mine. So they depend on reclaimed silver. Some of that comes from electronics. A lot of it comes from melted down silverware and things. But as we continue to invest in silver, the supply of reclaimed silver is getting smaller and smaller. And also, I would say that the cost of reclaiming silver is going to rise with energy costs and regulations, pollution and things like that. Prices of energy are getting higher, and restrictions on mining, on smelting, on refining, all those kind of environmental regulations are making it more expensive. So I see it being harder and harder for them to mine and harder for them to reclaim silver. And then we've also got political instability in some of these countries. Mexico is the #1 producer of silver, and it's like a war zone. So, I mean, at any time, one of those mines could shut down, and that's going to make a really big impact on this supply and demand. It would cut down the mining supply. But my point being is, if we're investing in silver and holding silver, what used to be recyclable or reclaimed silver is not being so anymore. So you hear about like refiners and scrap silver and melt buckets and things like that. There's less and less of that. So now if I had some silverware that I wanted to get rid of, say I just got a big silver set, where I used to maybe go to a place and hawk it off and then they would send it to a refiner. Now, if I'm aware of the markets and stuff, I could sell that at spot, or most likely higher than spot, to a stacker. I mean, I'll stack silverware, so I'm sure a lot of you will. And we're just, we're a small piece of this, but as people realize that they can get spot price or even higher for their silver, I would assume there's less and less being sent to the refiners. When you look at some of this 90% coin, some of these lower quality, more circulated coins in the past, they would have gone off to the refiner. You hear about pawn shops and their melt buckets and scrap buckets and things. But why would a guy running a pawn shop sell this to a refiner for spot, or most likely less than spot, and pay like shipping charges and everything, when he could sell it to someone like me for slightly over spot? And it's getting more and more so. I mean, nobody's selling off to be melted, I don't think, when they can sell right to the collector or right to the investor and make a higher profit off of it. So I see the demand increasing while the reclaimed silver portion of meeting that demand is going to get smaller and smaller and harder to meet. And that's as things are right now with the markets the way they are. And silver investors are a pretty small niche, I think, at this point. And a lot of the silver is not physical. It's being traded on the market, so you really can't count them into the mix. But if a portion of those people decide to go with physical silver, that could really, drive the prices up. And if just the masses decide that they want to get into silver, if silver starts, getting a lot of publicity or something, it could really drive prices up. And as the prices go up and as the demand increases, the separation between mining output and meeting that demand, it's going to be harder and harder to meet that demand, and that could really shoot the prices up. As it is right now, I think we're really kind of on the fence with it, and it wouldn't take much to tip those scales in such a way as we'll see the price just go through the roof. So I really see a lot of upside, and that pushes me into holding silver. But I also just see a lot of insurance and mitigating of risk, as opposed to having electrons in a computer somewhere where that whole thing could just shut down and that's the end of it. I feel a lot better holding something that you could put on a scale and tell what it's worth. And for that reason alone, I choose to be a silver shareholder. I'd rather hold my share of silver than my share of dollars. If I'm going to hold dollars, I prefer they be silver dollars. So thanks to everybody watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do appreciate everybody watching, liking the videos, commenting. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.